Hello guys, welcome back. So today we will discuss the playbook, right, in our Ansible basic series. We will see that how we can write a simple playbook, and then we will try to install it in the next on our client. Right, we'll go one by one. First we will install on the non-prod, and first then we will go with the prod, right? If you are curious like what is non-prod and prod, so in previous video if you remember that we have created a group for our client, right? Like client 1 we have marked as a non-prod and client 2 we have marked as a prod, right? So I will run this playbook one by one and let's see how it goes, and then probably we'll proceed further, right? So let me see how we can okay, I'll have a one simple playbook sitting on my GitHub repository. I will gonna download that. Okay, let me go to my GitHub. Okay, so this is my GitHub account and I will go to the Ansible fundamentals. There is a newly created repository I have created for only this course. I copied the path, okay, and I will go to my controller again and I will shoot a command called git clone and I will paste the repo ID and it will clone that object, okay. You can see we have new directory created Ansible fundamental and here we have something called Nginx, right? So let me cat this file and we'll go one by one and then we'll try to run this, okay. So here you can see that what I am trying to do is I have this Nginx YAML file, right, and uh, this is the name of that play, right, configuring Nginx servers, and I am running against only non-prod group, and become yes is like whatever the user we are giving, right, to run it, like it will run that command whatever we are trying to do under task, right. We will do it as a privileged user, maybe a sudo, right, that root user. So what I have done is I have already added this user in uh, vi sudoers file, right. Let me show you. I do vi cat etc sudoers and I will check for Ansible. So here you can see, okay, and typo. So you can see that I have already added this user, right, with all permissions, and it will run as a no password since we have the key based authentication, right. So that is fine. Now under task what we are doing is we are running two tasks. One is the install Nginx packages, right, and we are using the yum module. So probably we'll discuss the module as well in today's video. So here what we are doing is we are running a yum module and then we are saying, okay, a package called Nginx and it should be present, right? So that is how that module configuration should be defined. This is the name of the module and these are the key value based arguments we can pass it to the yum module, right? Similarly, we have using a different module called service module and there also we are doing this the Nginx and the state is started, right? So before, if you are not sure what it will gonna change, right, so for that there is a command called, if you just say dash dash check, it is kind of a dry run, right, which will just say that uh, what it will do, right. I will say hyphen I dash dash inventory and it will run and it will say, okay, if I run, what all configuration or what all changes I will perform. So that's what it will do, right. So here you can see it is showing you changed, right, but it will not gonna change anything, right. Like this will you can identify, okay, what it will do, it will gonna do this, and obviously it will not start these services because as of now there is no package, so obviously there is we cannot do this stuff, right. And it, but in really it is not have done. Let me show you yum list Nginx, okay. So you can see this package is still available, right. So this changed doesn't mean that it is already done, right. It is just showing you that kind of dry run, right? Like if you really run this playbook, so what will happen is it will change this step and this step, right? So that is how we can do this. So now what I will do is I will go and directly run this command. So here one more thing, I will let it run, then I will just show you that what is this gathering facts, right? Because this is something the play which we have defined, right? Our play name, and under play we have these two tasks, right? Let me quickly cat this file again. So here you can see that this configuring Nginx server, that is the name of our play, right? And under play we have the two tasks. One is the install Nginx and the one is starting Nginx, right? So here you can see. But I can see there is one more task, something called gathering fact, right? It is coming by default. So I will explain what it is. But let's see what it has done is. So now if I'll see, so now you can see the difference. Earlier it was available, right? But after we ran our playbook, it is installed, right? So that is the beauty of the Ansible, and it is an item, like it's a kind of it's item potency, right? Like it will just do that stuff only once, right? It will not it will just check if the current state matched with the desired state, then it will not do anything, right? So that's how it is doing. If you run it that same command again, right? Earlier you can see that it was changed, right? But this time it will be skipped because it is already done, so there is nothing to do, right? You can see that there is nothing to do, everything is okay. It will skip everything, right? Because the package is already there. And if I'll okay, this is the IP, and if I'll go here and if I'll go there, so here probably you will see that we have the Nginx up and running. Let it load and then it will show you. I think the problem is I will show you systemctl status firewall. See, it is running, right? Because we haven't defined any port. So let me stop this, and if you reload it, right, now it should run, and here you go. You can see that you have this running. Why? Because I have this file already available in client 1. Let me show you. I think it is under usr lib, or maybe I forgot that etc Connect.on-document. Document root it is saying is usr share and usr share and the HTML, and here we have something called index.html. So here you can see that, right? This is the path which we are accessing, right? So this way you can do this stuff. If now I will run this against let me go to Nginx, and I will say host from non-prod to, you can say prod, or you can say all, right? I will just say prod, and now I will run. So what it will do is it will run this step on client 2. Here we have the client 2, right? And what is the pass IP of this? IP is this one, right? Then let it do, and then I will go to this IP, and we have the internet page up and running. So this is the way, like, you can define your whatever the requirement, right? Of since playbook you can run, right? Let it done, and then I will just explain that what is modules, right? Come on, it's taking time. let me bring up my notepad. I was talking about the modules, right? So modules is nothing. Modules is just a set of, or maybe I will say the format, right? Format of Ansible instructions. We have already defined something inside that, and that is already up and running. Let's see if that is running. But here also I think we need to check the status of the firewall, right? Systemctl status firewall D, and yep, it is running. So what I will do is I will stop this. Yeah, it's done. Now you can see we have the Nginx page up and running fine, right? So that's how we can see that we can manage our Ansible, right? So we have a different modules, which is a kind of format of instructions, right? Simply we just put some modules, like we have used the uh, that yum module, right? We have used the service module, and we have something called line in file module, right? So there are n number of modules available in the Ansible documentation website, right? And each and every module will have a different kind of their documentation, or maybe they have a different kind of arguments you can pass it, right? So generally we have some category, like we have the system module, which will change some configuration at system level, right? Maybe you have that, let's say users, right, which will, maybe you can create the user. You have the ping module, right? And you have the another one is that, let's say, command module, right? Let me show you the command module example. And this is our controller. Here it is. Okay, so what I will do is I will go back. Here we have the inventory file, right? I will run that ad hoc command, right? Remember the ping module we are running. So what I will do is I will just do -m. I am running the command module, and I will pass the module, let's say, uptime, right? So here it is running, and you can see that the command module is running, right? And it is accepting a argument called uptime, which is a kind of command we are passing, right? And it will go and run on client 1 and client 2, and here it is running, right? Similarly, you can pass a different command, let's say df-h. Same thing it will do. It will go and just run that and give you a output on the controller screen. So this is how we have that command modules, right? And there was one more module I have explaining this gathering facts, right? So by default, what is happening is there is something called a set module, right? Which will automatically run whenever you are running any playbook, right? It will gonna run that module, and that module will gather some facts about your client, right? Like what is that OS, what is a major version, what is a minor version, IP address, and everything. It will be showing you that stuff, right? So that way we can just get this facts, right? So by default, it is already a kind of available, right? If you don't want to gather it fact, right, you can set it as false. But let me show you first. We have something called Ansible -config, right? And if I'll show term, so what it will do is it will just show you that everything, whatever the current configuration you have been set, right? And if I'll just grep for let's say gather, right? So here you can see that the gather fact is coming from the default, and which is the implicit. Implicit means is implicit is something like by default it will gonna gather, right? If you want to set it explicit, right, then you can just set it explicit, right? And to set the explicit, we have the option like we can just set it via in some different configuration modules, or maybe you can set it at the that cell module, right? And let me show you. Export, and I will say Ansible gathering equal to explicit, right? And this time if you run the dump command, so now you can see that earlier it was coming from the default configuration which was implicit, and now it is saying that it is set as the environment called Ansible gathering and the value is explicit, right? And if I run that playbook, or maybe so it should not gather the fact. Now you can see that, right? Directly it is running our task, it is not running that gathering fact, right? There is one more way. What you can do is you can set this parameter in the either you can set in the uh, default configuration, or what you can set is you can set it in that playbook, right? You can set it at the host that play level, whether fact equal to false. Where I am talking is I am talking about here, after host or before host, wherever you want to do, you can just set it like this and it will not gather any fact of the system, right? It is some kind of improve your performance, right? But if you are using some kind of variable, right? So in next class probably we'll discuss the variables, what is variable and how you can call it, right? Then this is the way, like you can now if it is explicit, right? And if you want to be a kind of gathering the fact, right? So what we can do is gather facts, I will say, right? And if you want to debug, we have something called debug module as well. Let me see if I'll just say name, or maybe directly I will say debug, right? And this is using a variable called ansible underscore, right? Let's run it again, and this time you can see what value we have. We have value is explicit. Explicit is something like by default it will not gonna gather any fact. If you want to set it, you need to set it as a true, and if it is implicit, by default it will gonna gather the fact. If you don't want, then you need to set it to false, right? So here what we are doing is we have set it to explicit, like we don't want to gather the fact by default, but in our YAML playbook file we have set it this value as true, so it will gonna gather the fact, and using the debug module, right? It will, okay, there was typo, it is facts, right? So we have only set fact, S was missing. Let me quickly fix this and let me run it again. What is now? Okay, maybe there is some typo, or maybe I forgot how to call this debug, so I will check this. But it should be running, right? Task we are running, right? And we have set it gather fact equal to true, fine, become yes, task, and we are just saying the debug module, and we are passing the variable called Ansible underscore facts. Yeah, it should run. It should run. I'm not sure why it is not running. I will just double check this, right? And we'll next class when we just start the variable, right? Probably that time I will show you, right? Debugging the facts, and then I will just say okay, debug. Yeah, this is the problem. Now I got it. It should be a indentation. Okay, let's see if it is running now. So here you can see that again it is gathering our facts, right? And once it is gathered, right? So here you can see that it has printed a lot of information on the screen, right? Now you can see it is done, and if you scroll up, so you can see that almost all kind of technical stuff it has printed, like Ansible facts, right? There is a variable called all IPv4 addresses, and you will see that this is the IP address of that your machines, right? And this is the architecture, BIOS state, and everything, default IPv6, v4. These are the disk attached to your disk services, VMs, right? And maybe that other stuff. What is the domain? So this way, what we can interface detail you can see. So this way, what we can do is we will call it, right. Let's say if you want to do some kind of stuff, you want to use a host name, right? So it is already a predefined variable which is coming under Ansible variable facts, right? And there, what it is doing is it is gathering this fact. So you can call this variable host name anywhere if you want, and then it is running your client too. So next class, what we will do is we will use the same setup in Ansible, and we will copy that HTML index.yaml file, and in that YAML file we are registering this a dynamic entry in that, right? Like we will call this host name from the Ansible fact, and then it will, if it is client 1, then it will print welcome to Path4 Cloud from client 1, and if it is client 2, then it will print client 2. So that way we'll clear this, right? So you can see that what kind of the architecture you have, memory, process, and everything, right? The virtualization type which you are using. So that way we can debug and we will install it. Alright. So I'll take pause from today's video, and in next video we will see that a variable and probably a condition, right? Yes, we have the condition as well in Ansible YAML playbook, right? On based of condition we can apply the configuration. So that part I will secure in next video. And yeah, that's it. If you like my content, then please subscribe my channel, share it with your friends, colleagues, and I will meet you in next. So till then, bye. Thank you guys.